Hey guys, Redneck Mini 14 here. So today I wanted to talk about why I decided to go with a 360 Buckhammer to be my new brush gun. And I did a video the other day showing off my new Henry X model in 360 Buckhammer. And I said that it was my new brush gun. So what is a brush gun and why did I want one? So a brush gun is basically a rifle that you're going to hunt with in the woods, specifically in thick woods, thick brush. So if you see a deer or a pig or whatever behind some branches and you take a shot at it, you don't want that round to deflect from the brush. You want it to go through the brush and into the animal. And so guns like 223, 270, 243, a lot of these bolt action calibers and semi-auto calibers, they're not ideal to be a brush gun. But guns like 30-30, 35 Remington, 444 Marlin, 45-70, those are ideal calibers to be a brush gun because they're big, they're heavy, they're usually like a flat or a round nose, and that really helps push through the brush and not get deflected. And so why was I looking for a brush gun? Because I've already got two 30-30s and I got a 45-70, and those are really the only full powered rifle rounds that I have in a lever action that would be a suitable brush gun. I guess I do have like a 45 Colt 44 Magnum, those calibers, but I wanted something in between. I wanted something bigger than a 30-30, bigger caliber than a 30-30, but I didn't want something so big that the recoil was going to kill my shoulder, like my 45-70 or potentially a 44 or a 444 Marlin. I can imagine that that's also a pretty heavy recoiling round. So I really wanted something in between to be kind of that Goldilocks caliber, so I can hunt with in the woods. And so what I really wanted was a 35 Remington, but 35 Remington's really kind of gone away in terms of popularity. Marlin stopped making theirs, and Henry came out with theirs, and it was like a really pretty brass model. And as far as I know, that's the only current gun on the market in 35 Remington. And of course I could get an old used one, but then the ammo is more expensive, and it's probably even more expensive to get into reloading because you're going to start from scratch. And so it's just, it's just really expensive all around. And so until Marlin came out with their 35 Remington, I was going to explore other options. Now, one of the first options that came to mind was the 350 Legend, and that's a round that's been around for a few years now, and I've had some. Come on, focus. I've had some ammo that was given to me in the past because somebody got it, bought it on accident or something, and they didn't need it, so they actually sold it to me, and I got some more ammo because at one point in time I was going to get a 350 Legend, and a 350 Legend would just be a cool gun to have. Now, these two rounds, I've got a 150 grain here and a 180 grain here. The 150 grain is not exactly ideal for brush, but the 180 grain would be because it's nice and rounded and kind of flat. And so it could have potentially been a good brush gun, but there is this new kid on the block, which is the 360 Buckhammer that came out last year, and it is a little more ideal in my opinion. First of all, the bullet for the 360 Buckhammer is a true 358 caliber bullet, which is exactly what the 35 Remington shoots, and they're shooting it out of a 30-30 case. So it's basically a cross between a 30-30 Winchester and a 35 Remington, and that's what they get. That's what they use to make the 360 Buckhammer. And from what I understand, the ballistics on the 360 Buckhammer is just all around, it's better than the 30-30, the 35 Remington, and even the 350 Legend. And I've asked people who have had experience with both calibers, and they all pretty much agree that the 360 Buckhammer beats the 350 Legend. And I mean, I've seen some ballistics tests on the 350 Legend, especially, you know, the rounds that I was going to look at for being my brush gun caliber, these 180 grain soft points here. You know, this is what I was going to use to be my brush gun ammo, you know, or at least something similar to this. And I've seen ballistics testing on that, and it didn't perform as good as the 360 Buckhammer from the same person doing the same type of test. The 360 Buckhammer it seemed to perform better. And like I said, I asked people who had real world experience with both hunting deer, and so they all pretty much agreed that 360 Buckhammer is just the better round. And whether or not that's true, because I haven't personally had experience with both rounds, but I was going to assume that it's true. So, and I would still like to get a 350 Legend at some point. I do have the ammo for it, so that would be another cool gun to have, but it might be more of like an open range type gun. Like if I was hunting in a field and I could see, you know, had visibility out to 200 yards, that might be a more ideal gun for that. But to me, in the woods, to be a brush gun, I think that the 360 Buckhammer is just an all-around better option. And it is, like I said, it's kind of that Goldilocks zone. It's a bigger caliber than a 30-30, you know, heavier bullet, and it's not as heavy recoiling as a 45-70. So it's right there in the middle, and that's really what I wanted to be my go-to brush gun. Plus, the other cool thing is this particular rifle, this Henry X model, has a threaded barrel. So most people would put like a suppressor on there. I'm not going to put a suppressor on there, but if I really wanted to, let my niece or my nephew one day use this rifle out in the woods, I could put a muzzle brake on there, and it would tame the recoil for them. Whereas my two 30-30s, which would probably be a little less recoil than this gun, but neither one of them has a threaded barrel, so I couldn't put a muzzle brake on there if I wanted to, but I could on this gun, and it could probably tame the recoil to a 30-30 or maybe even less, depending on the round. But I don't know for sure on that, but that is just an option. And I mean, honestly, this X model is just a really cool rifle. I bought one of these before in the 410 version, and I really, really like that gun. And honestly, among all the different Henry rifles that are offered in 360 Buckhammer, I just thought this one was the coolest. So I can't wait to get some more rounds of 360 Buckhammer. So far, all I have is the Federal PowerShock 180 grain, and that's kind of like the low end of what I think a good brush gun would be. I do have some 200 grain core locks on the way, but those haven't shown up yet. And then I think Federal is also coming out with a 220 grain hammer down load. That is what I think would be ideal to be a brush gun. You want a really heavy bullet in whatever caliber that you're using to be a brush gun. So whenever that comes out, I'm gonna keep my eyes out, keep an eye out for it. But whenever that comes out, I'd like to get a couple boxes, see how well this gun performs with those rounds, and then maybe even do some testing between the 180, the 200, and the 220 to see how they perform on brush. And I might even do some videos comparing it to a 30-30 and maybe even some other calibers as well. I just think that'd be a really fun thing to try out. But anyway, that's why I went with the 360 Buckhammer. Basically, the 35 Remington is not a super common and popular round or a gun anymore, so it's just harder to get. And then the 350 Legend, which is very common and popular, It just doesn't seem like it would perform as well. It doesn't seem like it hits as hard, and the bullets don't expand quite as well as a 360 Buckhammer. And also the 35 Legend doesn't, not every single ammo offering looks like it would be good to be a brush gun anyway. So I might still get a 350 Legend someday. I'd really like to get a Ruger Scout Rifle. That's the one I really want, because I just think that's a really good rifle as well. But for now, we're going to stick with the 360 Buckhammer. We're going to see how well it performs, and just see if I can shoot me a deer with it this year.
Hey, before I go, I just thought I'd remind everybody that I do have a second channel called Redneck Off the Range. Over there, I post most of my non-gun related content, so whether it's a video on my new tractor, my power tools, my projects that I'm working on, maybe wild game recipes, or just a random vlog, I post all of this kind of content over on my secondary channel. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go check it out, Redneck Off the Range. But that's all for this video, so subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook. I'm Redneck Mini 14, and until next time, be safe.